Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network present the Discover Your Mission series.
When I was young, in the 1950s, I attended Catholic grammar school and I memorized the Baltimore Catechism. In fact, I think I got an A on all of my tests. I faithfully attended Mass each week, not because I wanted to, but because I was afraid if I didn't, I would suffer eternal damnation. I followed all the rules. I followed my Catholic faith faithfully. But it wasn't until I became a wife and a mother and I began to try and pass my faith on to my children that I realized that everything I knew about Jesus was memorized doctrine.
I can't even share with you how I was so wrote in my faith. And I was attending Mass, but I was not present. I was a good man, I was a good father, I was instilling the sacraments into my family. I was definitely not intentional. I was stuck wrote in my faith.
But what kind of strength did he have? Jackie did not just have a strength of body or baseball skill. He had a strength inside of his spirit, a courageous meekness that empowered him to play the game.
And I tell him what is going on with me, and he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, I think this is like some sort of miracle, dude. And he's like, okay, of course, but I'll believe it when I see it. Honey, you've been trying to quit, and you've been saying this and saying that. And I'm his big line to me is, you shouldn't say things because I never follow through on them. And so this was week after week, month after month. He is looking at me like, this is a miracle. There is no way that you, on your own, could have done this.
In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 16 through 21, St. Paul compares the sacrifice of the Christians to the sacrifice of Israel and then to the sacrifice of the pagans. Paul calls the chalice the blood of Christ, and the bread as participation in the body of Christ, and then warns his listeners that you cannot partake of the table of the Lord and the table of demons at the same time. So in other words, you need to decide, what are you going to participate in? Are you going to participate in the historic Christian idea of the altar of sacrifice, which is in the Eucharist, or not?
Welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is a show all about implanting hope in our hearts. I'm Bill Snyder, joined by my friend Ann DeSantis. We're glad you're here for our uplifting conversation about faith and how it sustains our hearts through all the seasons of life. Thanks for walking with us. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sowing Hope. I am Bill Snyder. It's great to be with you. And thank you so much for tuning in, as always, to Patchwork Heart Ministry and being a part of our ministry to sow hope into broken hearts. Thank you for joining us, however you're joining us, on YouTube, Fiat Ministry Network, Facebook, TuneIn, however you're joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of our evening here. And we've got another great show for you. As always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Ann DeSantis. Let me bring Ann on here. Ann, how are you this evening? How's everything going?
Oh, great. Just great. We're almost at fall. I love this time of year.
I know. It's starting to cool off here. It's been raining for like 4 days straight here in Milwaukee, but it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
And you know that well because you grew up here.
I do, absolutely. So
That's right.
Why don't you talk to us a little about who we have as a guest today?
Yeah, speaking of Philadelphia, not too far away from us is a good friend of mine as our guest this evening is Dr. Carmina Chapp. She is the director of the programs for theology at St. Joseph's College of Maine, as well as the co-founder of the Dorothy Day Worker Farm in Pennsylvania, in southeastern Pennsylvania. So I thank you so much for joining us, Carmina.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you, Anne.
Yeah, it's always good to see you because right before this show started, we're friends, and that's part of our conversation. Is that when you get some friends together, it's always a good conversation. So I'm excited about you being a guest here with us.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And in addition, I'll just say that you're also a part of the board of directors for the foundation that I'm the director for. That's the St. Raymond Anatas Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. We were formed through the Mercedarian religious order, which I know you're familiar with. So's Bill.
Yeah.
Because both of you are on our board. And I'm so blessed as a director to have two amazing board members that help me with this job to evangelize and also help families in crisis.
Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure, Anne.
Yeah, thank you.
Foundation.
Thank you. So I thought we could start out with, as we do on most of our shows, as we always love to hear the stories of the people that we have as guests. First, I want to mention that St. Joseph's College of Maine is a favorite of mine because I am a student there, and I'm going to be finishing my master's degree this coming, I believe it's May. That's when we have graduation. So I'm excited. I'm working on my thesis now. And it's exciting. So, and part of the reason I'm there is because of Dr. Chapp. She had recommended it. And it's just been a wonderful blessing. I've learned so much about my faith.
Well, thanks for that. I'm really proud of our program. I think I just think it's just a wonderful group of people coming into it. And many are like yourself, and they just want to grow in their faith. And they find that's what happens when they come to the college. It's an totally online program, so they can do it from anywhere. And since we've been friends for so long and you were looking for a master's program, I'm like, well, this is a no-brainer, Anne. You should come to my program.
Yeah.
But I knew it would be a good fit for you too, because the people are just wonderful. The faculty are just wonderful. And your fellow students are wonderful. And now you have brought, watching you do all the things that you do in your ministry, in your life, with the podcast and the foundation and all of your inspirational things that you do on social media. It makes me proud as the program director to say, that's one of my students. That's one of mine. Go.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Make me very proud.
Oh, means so much. Honestly, it does. I mean, it's been such a joy. But most importantly, friendship. Friendship is the biggest blessing of our lives, isn't it? It's one of the biggest blessings. And I'm so grateful for you. I think we met in and around 2009 when you were at St. Charles Seminary.
Right.
And from there, you've done so many other things. The Lord has brought you to a different place, and now you're at the Dorothy Day Worker Farm.
The Worker Farm.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, we have so much to talk about.
Oh gosh, so many things. And I was thinking about it. When did I first meet Anne? And it was around 2009. It was at a catechetical event in Philadelphia, because I was working at the seminary there, and you were at the event, and we met and just started talking about some things and struck up this friendship, and it's just evolved, and we've gotten each other involved in all sorts of things to serve our Lord over all these years. And it's just a testament to what God does. I see that happening so much, even now, especially for some reason in the last 10 years, especially, I've seen God drawing people together to build his kingdom in really very powerful and unique ways, like this ministry you're doing here, like this new podcast. It's there are a lot of little things going on all around, which I think is beautiful. Instead of one big blob, it really is a patchwork. I love the name of your ministry.
Yeah, patchwork.
Everyone is where they are supposed to be and loving the people in front of them.
Yes.
And it's just so personal and so intimate. And that's the way Christ is with us. That's the way God is. He loves every single person uniquely and individually and fully and unconditionally. And you don't get that from mass media commercialism. You get that from one-on-one friendships one-on-one small ministries that can really get to know a person and can really like help people. And even if people come in and out of the ministry, that's fine, because that you're helping a million people over a period of time. But the moment is so powerful.
Yeah,
it has ripple effect. And I know you all know what I'm talking about. Like I look back on my life and see how many little things happened that turned into big things. That, wow, how did that, gee, I just happened to meet that person who said this. Oh, this person came over for a barbecue and said, you need to get this job. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm like, oh, okay. And that blah, blah, blah. I was at St. Charles Seminary. I'm like, and that changed my life. That totally blew apart my life. I got to do things for the church that I never dreamed of being able to do, for the Vatican and just for the city of Philadelphia, for the Cardinal at the time, was Cardinal Regali. And I just think all these little things don't happen by chance. They happen because we love each other and we have friends, and we have meaningful friendships, not superficial ones that are just like, you know what I mean? Bill knows.
Absolutely. Oh no, I do. And one of the things about what you said, they're helping the person in front of you, right? Like helping the person that's in front of you. Isn't that just what we're called to do, like every day? Yeah. Right. I resonate with that so much because I truly feel that, all right, the person that is in front of me, either actually it's in all cases, I need to learn something from them, and I also need to teach something to them, and also need to show Christ to them. And I think that if we do those things, because again, we're not always going to have the opportunity to, use mass media like this or use podcasts. The day-to-day moments, the in the dentist's office, being kind to the people that are working on you, right? Like I had to do this afternoon. I mean, there's each and every moment of our lives, we have an opportunity to show Christ and to also, and I think that's so important. And so yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because I just think it's so important.
It is. What else is there?
Right.
What else do we have at this moment right now to love the people in front of us?
Amen.
And not worry. I love Padre P always said, like, pray and don't worry, right? Yep. What's to worry about? If you're loving the person in front of you and you die in that moment, you've died loving, and you're in ultimate love and eternal life. So what's there to worry about? Just keep loving.
That's right. Oh, you said it so well. And I think with this conversation that's happening, I think of both you and Bill, because not only are you, of course, a board member, but when I say friend, I mean that you came to me in my own life when I was going through a challenging time, and you helped me so much, and you listened to me. That was the main thing I think that you did, is you had that, the art of like sacred listening, I guess we would call it. And you really made an impact on my life, because it was a very, very challenging time for me and my family around that time of 2009. I'll say probably one of the hardest times. And I thank you so much for being there. And here we are today. And same, with Bill, like was less than a year ago. I mean, was introduced to Bill by another friend of ours. And here we are doing this podcast and supporting one another. As you said, you're there to not only to help them, they can help you too. Not that it's about that. We know it's not about getting what we want, but being who God made us to be for other people. And that's what it's about.
Yeah. And letting them be for us what he wants them to be for us. I think that's the lesson I'm learning as I get older, is let people love you. Let people do nice things for you. Let people be kind to you, and don't go, oh no, don't worry about it. No, like we need this opportunity to love another. We also, like, they need to love us too. And I heard this great story the other day. I think it was my mother told me about this. There was a woman who had a neighbor who was poor, and she needed to borrow things. So she would borrow things. So the mother would send the son over to the woman's house to ask for a cup of sugar. And the boy would do it, but he'd come home and he'd say, Mom, we have sugar. Why are you asking her for a cup of sugar? And he said, because she's always asking, she always needs things from us. And she didn't want her to think that she didn't need her too. Like there was this reciprocal dignity going on, that she could give a cup of sugar, so she took the cup of sugar. Like, and I thought, what a sweet thing, that we need to be needed. We need to realize that people, we want to respect their dignity and not just be condescending and, oh, here, I'll give you everything because I don't need anything. We need love. We need that. And any way people can show that to us, we need to be willing to receive it. Even if it's in a little thing we don't need. We need that. We need them to be able to express love to us in some way. And we like that with children. We let children bring us things that, of course, we don't need this, but oh, isn't that a cute thing, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just think receiving was a really hard thing for me, because like you grow up, you know, we're supposed to be self-sufficient, supposed to be independent, you know, that rugged individualism that we all grow up like supposed to be doing. And we're not rugged individualists. We're a community. You know, we need each other, and there's stuff I can offer and there's stuff I need. And together we do it all. And so that receiving, that being able to receive things from people, I think is a lesson sometimes we need to learn.
Yeah, that's great. And I think we're always learning about ourselves and other people. And when we do that, we're also learning about God.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
We really are.
Mm-hmm.
And on the topic of St. Joseph's College of Maine, where I am a theology student for my master's, and Dr. Chapp is the program director, correct? Is that
right? Yeah, just of the online programs.
It is the online program.
It's the online program, right? I don't live in Maine. I don't live at the college. I live in Pennsylvania. Like
That's right.
Anne mentioned, I'm up near the Scranton area, Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area. So, and I've always worked from home, worked from a distance. This whole COVID thing was nothing new for me, with the whole working from home.
Right.
I was already doing it, and I love it, actually. I love working from home. But I've been program director this is my third year. I was assistant director before that, and just on faculty before that. I kind of just grew into this position after having done exactly what I'm doing now, only at St. Charles. When I met you, I was in charge of their master's program for lay people, and I left that and I started doing this, and now I'm doing the same thing again. But it's a wonderful program. I tell people, I explain to people, we teach what the church teaches, no more and no less. That's kind of our attitude. It's like, here's what the church teaches, take it, do with it what you will. So there's no agenda, there's no like politicking or anything like that. It's just, here are the church documents, here's the primary sources. And you've been through it, you understand what I mean by that.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, we're not trying to get you into any camps. we
Right.
try to stay away from all the political stuff that's going on out
You
there
do.
in the
Good
church
job.
and out of the church. We just teach what the church teaches, and here's what the church really teaches. Don't believe what people are saying about what the church teaches. Read it for yourself and make up your own mind. And I think that's I think that's the best thing we could do for people. It's just teach them the truth, teach them what they need to learn, and then let God do with it what they will. And they do. My goodness, the things that you're doing, a couple of our alumni, even some of our students coming in are already these like amazing people who are now just want to kind of, God called them to do this now, and they want to integrate the faith now into whatever they're doing in their life. And it's just beautiful to see. I really admire our students. Honestly, I don't think I could go back to school and get a master's degree at this point in my life. It's a lot of work.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying completely, but I have to say I have enjoyed it so much, and it's good for the brain. I mean, I don't know whoever's listening right now or listening on demand, but I mean, I'm over 55, but I'll tell you something, that taking this master's degree at my age has been really great for my spirituality, but really honestly to keep my brain active too. I mean, it's all the writing that we have to do. We have to do so much writing, and to me, that's a good exercise. Good exercise of faith, and also just of your knowledge.
Sure. Keep your brain funcking.
Keep your brain functioning.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that's just wonderful work. So any other thoughts though about the program itself? Because I'm sure that somebody's listening who's kind of maybe contemplating, maybe they're thinking about it.
Well, I'll give you a little profile of an average student who comes to us. The program is, well, it's completely online, so it doesn't matter where you live. You don't ever have to go to campus. Some schools have what they call residency requirements, where you have to go at least a term or something. We don't have that. Our tuition's very reasonable, one of the lower ones in the online world. So between those two things, I would say we're very accessible to people who might not have access to a master's degree in theology otherwise. Like if you want to go to the big schools like in New York or Boston or Chicago, or you have to move there, Washington, D.C., you got to move there and go to classes. Most people can't do that. And so the person like yourself, Anne, who wants to grow in their faith, but at a higher level than just the devotional level, they want to do a more strongly academic program. We're here. We're accessible to them. They can do this. They're able to. So most of our students are, I would say, they're not looking to become PhDs in theology or have a career with the church. There is that cadre of students, probably maybe a third of them are actually working in the biz, so to speak. They have a career in the church. But there is a nice number who are there simply to complement the career that they already have. And they want to learn their faith better. They've come alive in their faith. They're converts. We have a lot of people converted to the faith and want a more than RCIA. They want a strong grounding in the academic side. So there's a really good mix of kinds of people that comes wherever you are in that spectrum, where I really need a master's degree to move up in my career, or I really want to get a doctorate in theology someday, because we do have an agreement with a college to move into their doctoral program, or I want to just dive into my faith more and I want the academic challenge. It's really neat. There's this really array of the kind of student that come here. So we have 2 degrees that are for just anyone who wants to come in. One is in pastoral theology, and I think that's one you're doing, Anne.
Yes.
Pastoral theology has a really solid core curriculum in scripture, doctrine, and moral. And then you have a lot of electives that you can pick from to round out your program. We have a sacred theology degree that is much more strict. There's only 2 electives in that one. There are a lot more requirements, and it's heavy in doctrine, because it's really geared for people who either want to go on for a doctorate or just want to learn, really want to teach doctrine, teach the faith. It's more geared toward doctrine. So that's the other one. We have a 3rd degree that's for permanent deacons. If a person is a deacon in the church or is studying to become a deacon, if they're in formation for a diocese, we have a special program just for them as well at the master's level. So there's kind of something for everyone, whatever you're looking for. All different careers, from hospital chaplains to high school teachers to youth ministers, campus ministers, prison ministry, everyone. They're all mixed in there. It's great. And I'm always very available to students to kind of discern these things with them. It's so funny. I have so many students come in and they say, I ask them all the time, why did you want to study theology? What are you doing here? And they say, I don't really know. God wanted me here. Like in a nutshell, that's kind of what they're saying to me. I just feel moved to do this. I'm led in prayer really to come do this. And they're not alone. And so together through the course of the years they're with us, we chit chat every now and then, and they get an idea. I think I'm leaning in this direction. I think I want to be a chaplain. So we discern together. We talk through things and pray about them, and a lot of prayer. I always encourage people to pray.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But it's this being comfortable in the mystery that is so crucial when studying theology. You just have to be comfortable, not really seeing it as a practical exercise as much as this is yeast in my life. God is doing something here, and he is empowering me to do whatever he wants me to do next. This is preparation for what God wants me to do. Even though I don't know what that is yet, this is the preparation for it, and to take it very seriously because of that. It's not a hoop you jump through. Some people go get their MBAs because they got to get that big raise, and they just jump through the hoops.
Right.
Theology is the kind of thing you got to ponder. You don't rush through it. You've got to really ponder this stuff. And it's not a hoop. You don't want to rush. You want to spend as much time with the Lord as possible.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
that's
It's
it.
a real experience, I will say, on my end as a student. I mean, I started with you guys around 2014. I took a little bit of a break and came back. So that's been a blessing. And we'll be finishing up with my last class, which is the thesis, should be finished by March. So, but it's been such a blessing. As you said, it's a real experience. And you don't want to rush through it because there's so many great books. There's so many great resources that you're getting an opportunity to study and write about. So that's what I've enjoyed most, because when you're doing an online program, it's true. You're not going to be, next to your student friend in class. I mean, it's going to be you and the computer and your teacher pretty much. I mean, but to me, I've just loved it so much. I can't encourage people enough that if you are thinking about a degree, a master's degree in theology, to get in touch with, it's sjcme.edu is the website. And Carmina, maybe you can tell them more about how they can get that process started.
Sure. If you're interested, you can email me if you want. My email is cchapp, @sjcme.edu. Or if you just go to www.sjcme.edu, look for the admissions office, admissions online. Our admissions staff is great at walking you through the process. They hold your hand through the entire thing. And then once you are admitted, they hand you off to what we call a student support specialist, who helps you throughout your program, making sure you register for the right courses. They text you every now and then, hey, how are things going? So we have a lot of support for our online students. You're really not alone. It's not just you and your computer. You have a huge amount of support from the college itself. But to get started, just go to the website and look for admissions. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I meant to say, I did say you and your computer, but I meaning to say that your online experience is that, yes, it is just yourself in doing that work, but the support is just incredible. I mean, honestly, the resources and the databases for your the research that you need to do is just, there's so much there.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed when I started at St. Joseph's with the quality of the support for the online program that they have, because they've been doing distance learning since the 70s, so that they've kind of got this down pat. They're used to students not being on campus. But I was always very impressed. They were way ahead of the game when it came to support for online students, and they still are. It's really been great to work for them for that reason. So it's good. It's a great program. So I'm going to ask you a question now, Anne. Your thesis is on accompaniment, and we were just talking about that. Love the person in front of you. And how important that is. So that's what accompaniment is, isn't it? So you want to share with us a little bit what you're brainstorming with Father Donio about what you're going to write on?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, well, first of all, I'll back up just a little bit if I could, is that a lot of our listeners know that I'm the director for a foundation, and it's called the St. Raymond Anatas Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith at nonatas.org. And part of what I do in my job as the director is our tagline. Our tagline is, we offer spiritual accompaniment for families in crisis, and especially families affected by divorce and separation. Now, that's another story for a different day. The friars came up with the idea when they went to the World Meeting of Families, and they met Rose Sweet. Now, Rose is also our VP of the Board of Directors. She has her own ministry, which is for those affected by divorce. She herself has been divorced and annulled. And when she became annulled, she was trying to find some kind of a program for somebody who has been divorced within the Catholic Church and gotten that annulment. And she couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
So that's when she came up with her own program. And when the friars met her, they said, this is what we want to do. So getting on track with what you said about Father Donio and about my thesis is that I told him, I said, I'm kind of already there in this position where I'm talking to people I told Bill today, right, Bill? I
Yeah.
told you on the phone today. I talk to at least 1 to 2 people a week
Right.
who are either going through some kind of a separation or divorce or some kind of a crisis. And when I talked to Father Donio today about my thesis, he said that because of our Holy Father, Pope Francis, and his bringing this whole idea of what is accompaniment is very personal. And what it means is that not only does the church care about you, but individual people within the church care about you. So what is my paper about? What is my thesis about? It's about how in this country, we are trying to bring that into as many ministries as we possibly can, starting with the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops to many different organizations within the church, including, thank God, right, blessing myself, including the St. Raymond and Anatas Foundation. And I'm so grateful to be able to offer that accompaniment because I myself am an adult child of divorce. Now, I'm older, right? And it happened way back when. But what we're trying to do is to take people where they are, families who have been broken up, families who feel like, you know what, we didn't come from this perfect family, but we want to stay in the church. We don't want to leave the church. And that's what we're trying to offer them through this foundation, is to let them know that no matter what happens to you, is that Jesus is here for you, and so is the church. And that's what my paper is about.
Oh, that's
My
great.
paper is about the fact that Pope Francis' idea of a spiritual accompaniment is making a very major impact on the church for the better. And even though there's a lot of negativity in our world today, especially right now with politics and all of that
it's
stuff,
awful.
and even in the church, I mean, we have this whole like liberal Catholic versus conservative Catholic
it's
thing going on.
Oh, it's just awful.
But aside from all of that stuff, right, we have human beings who are in need. And that's really what we're about for the St. Raymond and Anatas Foundation. We're about trying to help people. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, you know what, my family is in crisis, please do get in touch with me at nonatas.org because we have a contact link right there. And let us know, because Father Ken, who might even be on this podcast listening, hi, Father Ken, if you are, he is our spiritual moderator, and he offers a spiritual consultation. And so do I, but he can do a free consultation with whoever needs it. Yeah.
What a blessing. What
It
a
really
massive
is.
blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you just have.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And, Ann, I think, as you talk about accompaniment, I think it's a challenge for each and every one of us to remember that it's moment by moment, and remember that we, as people, are called to accompany others in our lives. And, it doesn't mean that it's this instant conversion. But it also doesn't mean that we sacrifice the truths of our faith. We don't have to sacrifice the truths of our faith. We can believe and we can know, but it's also without expecting anything from them, right? When we're accompanying somebody, it's not like we're looking for this massive conversion or waiting for a conversion to happen. A lot of times, our Protestant brothers and sisters, some more than others, will sit there like, okay, well, I'm only going to go with you to coffee until, okay, but it doesn't look like you're converting, so therefore I'm not going to be your friend anymore. That's not what accompaniment is. It's being there through all the trials and answering the questions. And if they never come around to realizing it, right? If they never come around to realizing it, we're still accompanying them on the journey, even if it's going to take longer, even if it's going to take more years. Like that, it's so important to remember that it's not just this one shot. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to set a date, and if they haven't converted by then, or they haven't gotten it by then, well, then we're going to be. Then I'm done with them. And I've encountered that before. I've encountered that before in some of our in some great Protestant friends. It's like, well, why? Wait a minute. You're still hanging out with them? Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I am doing that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking about all of that. And I value both you and Bill as friends. When you talk about accompaniment, I have to say you both have accompanied me in so many ways. And, that's what life is really about. I mean, we all accompany one another, and that's what friendship should be about. Mm-hmm. It's nothing to compare with one another. It's just meeting somebody exactly where they are. And to be honest, it's just caring. I mean, and showing them that you care. It's such a big thing these days. I mean, we can't take that for granted.
No.
We can't take that for granted, I don't think.
That's the mark of the saints, isn't it? How all the great saints, when you read about them, that's what they did. They didn't feed the generic poor. They fed poor, like the person in front of them. They actually handed them the food. And even what I'm seeing, like my husband and I founded or run the Dorothy Day Catholic Worker Farm. You wanted me to talk a little bit about the farm.
Thank you, please.
Yeah,
and
please.
So we're part of the Catholic Worker Movement founded by Dorothy Day and Peter Morin in 1933 during the Great Depression to help people, because help poor. It's kind of like not as poor as Mother Teresa's Poorest of the Poor, but there was the Great Depression was a horrible time, and they were trying to help. So they believed in a philosophy called Personalism, which is also the philosophy of John Paul II and Pope Benedict, and which is really what accompaniment is rooted in. It's like you have to have that personal interest in the person, not some like abstract interest in the person. So what we're seeing here, we grow some food and we have some sheep and we have chickens and all that. We have a farm that we do grow food and give it to various places. But what we've discovered over the last couple of years is that even like food distribution to the poor has become very impersonal. That and as necessary as it is, and it's great. Food banks are great. It's actually very corporate. Like we went to the food pantry to bring some food from our garden, and we arrived at the very moment a huge tractor trailer showed up that was delivering tons of food from the supermarkets that had donated food, which is wonderful. They're full. But it really struck me how, well, it's just so impersonal now. It's like you want to meet the people that you want to help the people. It just wasn't very personal. So I'm happy that all these like places are donating food where it's needed. That one thing is missing. And I want to bring that back. So it's one of the things that I think we really kind of strive to do is bring back that personal touch, so to speak, in service. And we also are like an open farm where anyone can come and learn how to do some homesteading skills, which people are doing. They're coming and doing things with us to learn how to do some farming or to raise some chickens, or I shear the wool and spin it, and we learn how to knit and stuff like that.
I love that so much.
That's great. It's really great. That's been really great. So we're trying to set an example for getting back to nature and just knowing where your food comes from. Even that is personal. To know where your food comes from is a personal thing. Who's your farmer? Where did you get your food? So this whole thing about accompaniment is really just I don't want to say it's a new word for an old idea. It's just it's so in continuity with the richest of our tradition. It's be present personally to people in whatever way they need it. And Dorothy Day really exemplified this. Like she said it isn't enough just to give things to the poor. Their spiritual needs are not met. You need to be there for them. And that was what she tried to do, and that's what the Catholic workers tried to do, is be present to people. That's the mark of sainthood. That's what makes us all saints, is to be Christ to others and to build the kingdom. So it's really the ancient message is to accompany people to Christ.
Yeah. And what a unique thing, especially for our time. Of course you've been doing it longer than that, but wow, what a wonderful thing, that Dorothy Day Worker Farm. Wow, just amazing.
And I went up there and visited. Now it's been a while, and I know I said I'm going to come visit, and I have to come again. I love to come and visit you. I mean, it's about 2 hours away from where I live, and it's beautiful. And she's got animals there and beautiful land, and you've done so well with your crops and getting the community to be involved. So what's that like for you? Because I know you've met so many great people with doing this.
It's been really it's been amazing. And I mean, when we were talking about little things, people you meet, and everything that kind of avalanches into something. The fact that we're even here is a gift from God. Like if we had planned this, it never would have happened. It really just happened. It unfolded before us. And so we're very aware that this is not our farm. This is God's farm. And we will do with it what he wants us to do with it. So we're always discerning what's our mission? What are we doing here? We have disappointments. Oh, should we give up? No, God wants us here. We have to do what God wants us to do. So it's been a real discernment for us in what we're supposed to do. And it's not, we start out thinking, oh, we'll grow food for the food pantries, but it's so much more than that. That's really just a very small part of what we do. It's more of the people who come here to pray with us, to work with us, to learn a new skill with us, and just to encounter each other and to find a safe place to try something new. It's really the friendships we're building. I'm amazed, and I shouldn't be amazed because God is amazing, that just the beautiful friendships that are forming up here. Because we knew no one. We knew one person up here when we moved up here. It just kind of blossomed. It's been great.
Well, it's so interesting for me to watch this because, you were living kind of like closer to the city before that.
Oh, yeah.
And living kind of a different life than you are now.
Very different.
And you went from like kind of that suburban woman to, now you're way, way out there in the country. So what was it like to learn all those skills? Because, I mean, I wouldn't know half the skills that you know for working on a farm. How did you learn them and what was that like?
Oh, well, a mixture of things, really. And again, it's personal because people have taught me, especially with the wool. I've met a lot of friends who spin wool and who knit, and they've taught me a lot of things. The farming has been a communal learning experience too, because we meet people who know what they're doing. Our neighbor has been farming for years. He has a small farm up the street. So he's a huge help to us. And YouTube is great for that kind of thing too. How to butcher a chicken. You go on YouTube. So I laugh. I call my husband the YouTube farmer because he's learned a lot of. My husband's a theologian too, just like me. We have our doctorates in theology, and he taught at DeSales University for almost 20 years.
Where Elaine went, my daughter.
Where Elaine went, granddaughter went. So he's done that. He's been the academic, and I was at St. Charles while he was there. So we were really just academic suburban people, and now we've been lifted out of that and have a whole different lifestyle. But I'll tell you, this lifestyle is so much healthier than it had been. It's not as stressful. It's just things don't. It's hard to when you're back to nature. Things are put in perspective, and it's just different. It's a slower pace, and it's. And just
I have to think
lifestyle.
that the consumerism isn't as much of a temptation.
It's not.
I'm guessing, right?
I'll tell you why.
Tell us.
I tried to figure out why is it that I don't really care about going out shopping anymore. One, because it's further away to shop. It's more less convenient. But everything gets disgustingly dirty on the farm. So I'm not going to buy any really nice clothes because they're going to get destroyed. And like we used to buy nice clothes to go to work. If you're going to an office, you need to look nice. Well, I work from home now, so I don't have to, get really dressed up for anything anymore, which is nice. And it's just kind of enabled me to do other things instead, to worry less about that and more about other things. But
let me know if any land opens up next door.
Oh, I'd love if you moved up here. I would love it. I want to write a book, honestly, how to live this life if you are in the city or suburbs. Like, just because you don't own land doesn't mean you can't. Because what it really comes down to is a simplicity of life. You just end up really discerning, I don't really need that. I don't really need that. And you just simplify. Just simplify your life. You make decisions based on what you need, not what you want. And you minimize. And it's just it's just simpler. It's less stressful.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, you both know that I homeschooled my two daughters who are now almost 24 and 21. And the one thing that I loved about it was that we didn't have to go crazy with all those like school shoppings and like we just put on our sweats every day and we went home.
Yeah.
And I did it for how many years until I actually got a job, But some people say, well, that was a job too, homeschooling for how many years? But
yeah. But they're not competing with the latest things that the girls compete over, and you just don't get caught up in a lot of nonsense.
Yeah,
when
that's
you
right.
Homeschool, or when you live simply and work from home. It's,
and
you don't realize it till you're out of it.
No, and I think a lot of people have been doing that during this time, right? Right, Carmina? I mean, like during this time, during this pandemic, people have been forced to, work from home and, work in their sweats. It's like, okay, I mean, and I love that commercial. I can't bring brands into it, but I love that commercial where the guy's like, I thought we were doing a Zoom thing, and the people are over for dinner. Right? People are over for dinner. He has no pants on. He's just got the shirt on, and it's so funny, right? It's so funny. But I mean, we sit here, we laugh about it, but there's something about living simply and also, taking care of the planet, right? I mean, there's part of like taking care of God's creation that you probably have learned so much about during that time of working in the farm.
That's exactly true. You start to really appreciate the relationship between human life and creation, the environment, and how, like, our planet was created for human life to live on it. We're the only planet human beings can live on. And so when the planet is healthy, we are healthy. So we have this responsibility to take care of the planet because we are the image and likeness of God. It's all related. Like, we like to, in our world, we pit the two against each other so much. And we can't do that. We have to see how they go together. Nature's amazing. Nature's absolutely amazing. We had a field in the back here that we had too many animals and they overgrazed. And so we had to get rid of the animals for a while and take a break from it. But that land came back in a year. Like, the whole pasture was back again. I'm like, it's just amazing. The earth is strong. So it really is edifying to see that we've tried to destroy this planet and we're doing a pretty good job. But you know what? It wouldn't take much for us to, if we all simplified a bit, got away from some of the industrial stuff, it wouldn't take much to heal it.
Yeah, I think you said that so well, because as I said, maybe a couple paragraphs or so ago, is that whole idea of like conservative Catholic versus so-called liberal Catholic and all that stuff. What St. Joseph's College of Maine teaches is what the church teaches, right? And as much as sometimes in some camps we try to dismiss the whole idea of the environment. Now, I know that that's an area that Pope Francis has really kind of brought about as like, it is important.
Yeah. And Pope Benedict did too.
It's a way that we can meet together, with people who have the whole, maybe they're, have a big concern, and I do too. I mean, I know Bill does, and you do, with pro-life. I mean, my gosh, that's so important to the St. Raymond and Anatas Foundation and to all that we do. But it brings kind of those two camps together when you say, you know what, both of these things are important. Yeah. They both have a value to God, right? The land and the way we take care of that land also has a value.
It does, because it affects our health. And how sick are we getting from foods that are not healthy because of the way they're grown in our fields? Like, it's all related. And then modern medicine, and it's all related. So we do need to see, and this is the thing, if we all seek the truth, we'll be okay. It's when we do certain research, because that's where the grant money is, or like we have ulterior motives for doing what we're doing instead of this is truthful. So instead of we're so blessed as Catholics because we do have this really great faith that is so encompassing of everything that we can look at all of these different issues from this Catholic perspective, rather than looking at the church or the Catholic faith from like a secular right or left position.
Right, exactly.
We actually look at all of the sides and have something to say about everything. We do have something to contribute to all of these conversations. instead of fighting each other, we actually can be that place of unity. But what's at the core of it, though, is God and his love for us. And that's why accompaniment and conversion of heart is so important, because if you don't have that, it's all a political game. If you don't have that common love for each other that is rooted in the love, ultimate love, what's our motivation? And then we just fall into camps. So we really do need to bring Christ to the world. That really will help us do all these other things. Not just reasonably argue with people, but it really will heal a lot of things.
You said it so well. And I think also, just as you said, when somebody has an agenda, I shouldn't have an agenda to make anybody believe what Anne believes or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not really what God wants. It's what he wants, not what I happen to think is the quote right thing to do, that I'm hoping that my friends and people I meet agree with me, you know?
Yeah.
But I think sometimes in our world right now, especially like right before, say, an election or something, you know, people get so into that whole wanting everyone to kind of get into this camp and make a decision, you know. But like you said, as Catholics, the word itself means universal, right? I mean, we're looking at things, as you said, in a universal way, and caring about all the things that God cares about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what comes in my head.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful perspective, because like the church, one, it's ancient, so we have the history, and we've lived through history, and so we have all these saints along the way to point us to all these different cultural things that happen. But we also have, like today, we are the most culturally diverse institution on the planet. Like every culture, every country, there are people worshiping God in the Eucharist. And that's what unites us. It's not the culture that unites us. It's Christ that unites us. So how do I love my neighbor most, even if we have different interests or different ideas about how to do things? If I know we both are loving Jesus, then there's that. That's our unity. And we can both accept how each other is moving along. If I know she is in good faith loving Jesus, and this is how she thinks this should happen, go for it. Because that's all we care about is, are we loving Jesus? So the church has so much to offer.
It does.
There's so much potential. Oh, I love it.
Well, I want to just say I owe so much to you for your support a while back, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, but also even your guidance with St. Joseph's College of Maine. I'm so grateful. And also so grateful to Bill, because I tell you, there's a story there about how Sowing Hope started and how the Holy Spirit worked so that we could start this podcast. And guess what? It was the pandemic when I said to Bill, I'd love to do a podcast. And he said, I'm too busy. And then lo and behold, now, Bill, you tell the rest.
Yeah, that's basically, but that's
you've told the story before.
Yeah, it's basically what happened. This podcast got started because of the pandemic, and it's been a great joy and blessing. I mean, this is episode number 60. It's hard to believe I'm even saying those words. We've done 60 episodes of the show since the pandemic started, twice a week. And so praise God for all of the good things that keep flowing out of this, and know that God is working through the muck and the grime of our society and our world right now. He's working through. He's creating these beautiful moments, as we kind of said earlier. He's creating these beautiful moments. So, Dr. Chapp, you're going to have to come back and talk with us again on the program. It's been so
I'd
much
love
fun.
to. This is fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Well, we'll see each other at board meetings.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. I don't think we should.
Raymond and Anatas board meetings.
Yeah, but I think broadcasting board meetings would be a bit dry.
It'd be a little boring for people.
Right.
A little boring, but no, folks. Thank you so much to both of you. This has been so much fun. It's been a fun hour, and we'll have to have you back, Dr. Chapp. This has been a blast.
Well, thank you for having me. This was really fun. God bless both of you.
God bless you.
Folks, real quick before you go, or before we leave you, I should say, I just want to remind you to head over to Patchwork Heart Ministries website, because if you are feeling down, you are feeling fearful during these times, we created a rosary called the Fearless Scriptural Rosary, and what we did was we took the different passages from the Bible that say, "Be not afraid and fear not," and we paired them with the rosary. So it's really for these times. If you are struggling with fear, doubt, worry, anxiety during these times, and you do not have a farm that you can go to, I really do encourage you to download this rosary. It's free. It's available on our website. All you have to do is head over to patchworkheart.org, and it'll pop right up on the screen. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And until next time, from all of us at the Patchwork Heart Ministry, the St. Raymond Anatas Foundation, and Fiat Ministry Network, we really appreciate you joining us. Stay tuned, and as always, all of our episodes are on demand, so thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, keep beating to your Catholic heart and sowing hope into broken hearts. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sowing Hope on Patchwork Heart Radio. For more information about this podcast and our ministries, visit our websites, patchworkheart.org and andesantis.com. You can also follow and interact with us on Twitter at PWH Ministry or Andy Santis 2.